This series is not a tale of logic and reason. It is a descent into shadows, secrets, and the crimes that refuse to die. We will uncover the forgotten roots of crime fiction, haunted mansions, unreliable confessions, spectral witnesses, and guilty minds fractured by mirrors and bloods. And through this, we will explore how fear, guilt, madness, and supernatural shaped the genre we believed we understood. This is the archive of the repressed. Welcome to Gothic Evidence, Dark Inheritance, a world where justice limps behind secrets, where madness wears a velvet coat, and the blood on the floor tells stories older than law or even time. This series is not a tale of logic and reason. We go into sealed rooms, rusted keys, crumbling wills, and voices that do not die. This is not the domain of the rational detective. The crime here is not solved, it lingers. The guilty are not caught, they are inherited. And tonight, we cross a boundary that refuses to stay buried. In tonight's episode, we discuss undead law, vampires, and legal boundaries. Imagine a crime that cannot be prosecuted, a killer who signs no name, needs no weapon, and bleeds no blood. A contract sealed not with ink but with a kiss. Inheritance, possession, and the law perverted. This is not a metaphor. This is Carmilla. This is the monk. And this is the moment law meets the supernatural and fails to rise again. Let us begin. There are monsters that creep, and there are monsters that inherit. The Gothic vampire is not just a creature of bloodlust, she is a legal anomaly, and being that moves between jurisdiction, between life and death, between tenant and heir, between guest and captor. In Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla, written in 1872, the vampire is not hunted by villagers with pitchforks. She arrives with a trunk. "My dear child," she said, "this is my daughter Carmilla. She is on a visit to you." And with that social civility, the handshake, the carriage, the letter of recommendation, Carmilla enters. Not just the home, the legal structure. She becomes a dependent, a guest, a member of the household, and therefore legally unassailable. She consumes from within because she has a right to be there. This is not merely a Gothic mood. This is jurisprudence made vulnerable. Carmilla does not break the law, she outlives it. The structures of hospitality, inheritance, and feminine dependency that once protected fragile women now serve the predator. And when she is discovered, there is no trial, only exhumation. We had discovered the mouth of the perfectly formed female vampire, deep in the grave, smiling still. Not executed, not prosecuted, staked. Why? Because there is no legal remedy for the undead. The system has no clause for revenants. And so, justice becomes ritual. The law, having failed, retreats into superstition. But let us now turn to England, to the monk, to Ambrosio. Matthew Lewis's The Monk, written in 1796, is often called a tale of religious hypocrisy, but it is also a tale of bureaucratic failure. Ambrosio begins as a figure of immense legal authority, abbot, confessor, arbiter of moral boundaries. He is the one to whom others confess, and yet it is his own confession that cannot be processed, his guilt that cannot be tried. The punishment should be proportioned to the offense, he says. But who shall measure crimes born in secrecy beneath the vault of midnight? His descent is one of spiritual and legal immunity. He is beyond arrest. The church protects, the monastery encloses, and by the time the truth is known, the crimes are not only profane, they are undead. Incest, murder, necromantic deals, and in the end, Ambrosio sells his soul to escape the Inquisition. Lucifer, I am thine forever. And that is the loophole. A cursed contract, an infernal pact. It is the final contract. It is not merely Faustian, it is Gothic jurisprudence. The law, overwhelmed by horror, is overwritten by damnation. There is no appeal court in hell, and the demon does not respect due process. So, what is a Gothic monster then, if not an outlaw? It is not merely a thing that murders, it is a thing that survives through law, not despite it. Let us examine three interlocking motifs: inheritance, cursed contracts, and legal ambiguity. In Carmilla, it is not simply the blood of strangers that matters, it is the inheritance of trauma. The vampire infects lineages. She arrives in household with ancestral portraits that resemble her. She is never truly new. She is what has already happened. Again. Inheritance in Gothic fictions is not about wealth. It is about haunting. You do not inherit the estate, you inherit the curse. And no lawyer can redact that. The monk Ambrosio's final act is not a sin, it is a signature. Write thy name, says the demon, and all shall be forgiven. Ambrosio signs. And this is the moment law becomes magic, the contract becomes literal and eternal. In Gothic crime fiction, paper is no longer protection, it is a trap. Wills can damn, deeds can burn, letters can resurrect, and none of it is revocable. Gothic monsters live in loopholes. They are ambiguous presences. Is Carmilla a daughter or a guest? Is Ambrosio a priest or a prisoner? Is the crypt a place of burial or birth? The vampire cannot be convicted because she is not precisely alive. The monk cannot be excommunicated because he has already left the church in spirit. And the reader cannot trust any of it because the narrator is often lying. In Carmilla, the account is given by Laura long after the events have passed, her memory fragile, her horror poetic. Sometimes, after an hour of apathy, my strange and beautiful companion would take my hand and hold it with a fond pressure, then sigh and sink her head upon my shoulder. Is this seduction? Assault? Madness? The Gothic never clarifies. And therein lies its legal terror. In the detective novel, the crime is rational. It has motive, a timeline, a perpetrator. In Gothic crime fiction, the crime is an echo, a thing that happened before the book began, a crime no one can name. And the punishment? Too late, too soft, or too impossible. You do not jail a vampire. You do not hang a priest possessed by his own temptation. You bury them. You exile them. You fear them. And then you inherit them again. This is the true terror of Gothic crime. The law exists, but it does not work. Justice has a ledger, but the ink runs red and wet. The courthouse is built over a crypt, and the oath is sworn on a Bible that screams when opened. The vampire walks through legal documents like fog. The monk sins in the confessional itself. And the reader, us, becomes the only witness left. No jury, no prosecutor, only the flickering candlelight of memory. We are asked not to judge, but to endure, to realize that guilt can be immortal. We need to know because the Gothic tells us that monsters that do not break laws but reveal how broken those laws already were. And so I ask you, what is justice when the crime itself is supernatural? What happens when the system we trust for order meets an entity that cannot be catalogued, detained, or defined? Have we truly evolved beyond ritual and exorcism? Or are we still like the villagers reaching for a stake because the law cannot hold a ghost? Until next time, remember, some crimes must be solved in daylight, but others are written in blood beneath the seal of night, and no gavel can reach them there. This has been the criminal imagination.